Look, Mr Speaker, I want to focus on a few things that matters. Following two major earthquakes, we have lost a lot. Homes, businesses, people have lost family members, but still many things have occurred. Relationships have been ruined, people have lost loved ones across my own city. The most horrific, Mr Speaker, that I want to talk a little bit about is the things that matters. My uncle, who not only lost his home, his business, members of his own family, saw 3 people killed in front of him. And for him, this earthquakes that we have gone through have been horrific. We have broken water supplies, broken sewer pipes and rather dodgy electricity, Mr Speaker. And interestingly, we've had some destroyed schools as well. But one of the funny things, in all that, we've seen adversity in Cantabrians. Cantabrians have comedy in adversity, and I must admit, one of the great things I've seen is a great video clip that's been out on YouTube called "There is a Fraction Too Much Liquefaction." And I encourage many members to see that and see some of the comedy that does exist in times like this, and that actually helps some people get through. The people of Canterbury are strong, resilient and optimistic. Yes, we've decided that some have now, about 5% maybe, have left the city, and maybe they may not come back for some time. Maybe about 15,000, 20,000 will be in that situation. About 40,000 went away for about 2 to 3 to 4 weeks and have come back to the city. Some may not be able to return back to their homes safely. My city is broken but not beaten. Parts of it are even munted. Munted is a great new term, and the Honourable Nick Smith referred to it earlier. There's 2 different flavours of munted. There's munted and there's mega munted. And munted is a great phrase that's used often now in Christchurch to describe things that are so broken they cannot be fixed. I'm told it is actually officially in the Oxford English Dictionary and will continue to be so, and referred to a common phrase used in Canterbury. We have had some great people and personalities that occurred in our earthquake. In particular, I want to give reference to Mayor Bob Parker, particularly Mayor Bob Parker's Orange Parker, which is so famous now. Bob Parker's Orange Parker has its own Facebook page. Another example of the differences in Canterbury that occurs. Mr Speaker, we have the Crusaders are back winning again. They're not playing in Christchurch yet, but they are training there. Mr Speaker, Richie McCaw is back training again in Christchurch, a very good sign as we lead into the Rugby World Cup. A professional netball team, the Tactics, are back and they won the first game ever. Of course we're going to win the World Cup as long as Mr McCaw is back and fit. We're going to win the World Cup, Mr McLeod. We're going to win the World Cup. But see, for Cantabrians, sport is an important thing. Some people say sport is a very important matter, but in Canterbury it's not a matter of life and death, it's more important than that. But other parts of Christchurch and other parts of Canterbury, there's a thing called quake normality. The western suburbs of Christchurch, the bars, the restaurants, the garages, shops, look like everything was back to normal again. But on my side of town, in the eastern suburbs, it is not so. Thousands of people have been busy working, putting in new emergency power cables so we can have power for the winter, fixing sewer lines and water pipes so we can drink the water and actually be able to flush our toilets at some stage in the near future, Mr Speaker. I want to thank a few people, the contractors who have fixed the road humps and the road bumps, partly funded by government and helped them get back to normal. The churches that have housed, counselled and fed people. The food banks that have given out thousands of food parcels. I want to particular mention of one gentleman called Kerry Benelsman at 0800 Hungry. This is New Zealand's largest food bank, whose own buildings have been destroyed in Wainoni and have given out over 6,000 food parcels in the space of the last month. I was blessed to spend a number of times over those few weeks with some colleagues of mine handing out hundreds of those food parcels. Despite some of the consternation from the Labour Party, we do get out and work with food banks, Mr Speaker. I want to give particular mention to Rick Barker, the Honourable Rick Barker, who has come to Christchurch and actually has put aside political aspirations, I thought, and has done some good work in my community. Although I wasn't quite sure what he was doing at the time, but it turns out he was getting votes, obviously, to be senior whip. Obviously he was successful, Mr Barker. I want to give thanks to the Salvation Army and also to my senior whip, Chris Tremaine, who, despite turning up in Hawke's Bay's colours, the black and white, in Canterbury, which was going to be seen as hostile, had the great pleasure of digging alongside me for a number of days of digging out Canterbury. I've now given him a Canterbury Crusaders rugby jersey so he feels more at home and be more welcome when he returns next time. I want to thank the builders who have been building chimneys and heat pumps, and the Real Army who have given out 28,000 chemical toilets, including to my own home, so people can actually have a functioning sewer system. And our government during this time has paid out hundreds of millions of dollars in state wage subsidies and wage support, altered tax rules, benefit schemes, improved and put in place accommodation support package, and we're expecting to spend billions of dollars over the next few years rebuilding Canterbury for the benefit of people. Mr Speaker, we've seen great support from government in terms of Mr Brownlee and his staff have been phenomenal as well, and in the next few weeks we'll see the creation of CERA, the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Agency, to rebuild Christchurch the way we want it to be. Thank you.
The Honourable Heather Roy.